Okay, let's start with your name, your birthday, and your current age.
My current age is 87. My birthday is May the 13th, 1921.
And what's your name?
Tom Cooksey.
All right. Now, Tom, where were you born?
Knickerbocker, Texas.
Knickerbocker,
It's
Texas.
close to San Angelo.
About the time World War II started and around the time you enlisted, where were you living?
And living in, when I first started there, I was living in Dallas itself. But I moved to Grand Prairie so it'd be closer because the plant I worked in was located in Grand Prairie.
Okay. Now, did you grow up in Mullen, or how did you get to be in that area?
Well, I grew up on a ranch about 6 miles west of Mullen.
Okay.
Went to school in Mullen.
Okay, so you went to school.
Rode horseback.
Okay. So you went to high school there in Mullen?
Yeah,
What year did you graduate?
1939.
So by that point, everyone was aware of the war that was going on
Oh,
in
yeah.
Europe and what was going on?
Yeah. That's the reason I volunteered, because I figured I would eventually get drafted, and I didn't want to be in the walking army. I wanted the Air Force.
You wanted to get to it before they got to you? Well, when you were in high school and all it had started, what was the feeling like, just in the community? Was everyone worried about it, or?
Sure, because that's World War II was the largest army conflict in history of the world. And we knew we had to win it or we had no home left.
Okay,
That's the reason I volunteered.
you felt it was a direct threat that if
Sure.
Hitler was successful in England, he would eventually try the United States?
Because it even affected the civilian population, because everything was short. Everything was rationed, and the civilian population suffered pretty severely.
So they'd already started feeling it there in Mullen
Sure.
as far as shortages of metal and glass.
Tires,
and rubber.
gasoline, everything. Meat, coffee, shoes, clothes, nearly everything that you had to buy was rationed. Had to have a ration book.
Okay. So after high school, did you go on to college or
I went 2 years to Tarleton.
Tarleton State? And from there, that's when you got the job in Grand Prairie?
Yeah, with North American Aviation.
And what were you doing there?
Well, I started out as a riveter. By the time I quit and volunteered, I was section foreman on a sub-assembly section.
What were you working on mainly?
Started out working on that AT-6 Texan trainer, but North American built a huge new plant across the road and started building B-24s. And I got transferred over there to what we call the B plant because aluminum was short, and I was working on building a fuselage for AT-6, and they started building that out of plywood built by a furniture factory in California.
Okay.
So they shut that department down.
And so how long had you been working there when you decided to volunteer?
I guess approximately 2 years.
Okay, so about how old were you at the time?
I don't know.
So you graduated at 18, so probably 22, 23?
22, I imagine.
Around that age? Okay. So at the time you'd volunteered, had you already, were you married at the time? Or?
I had volunteered before I got married.
Okay.
Well, I knew I was going in the service.
Okay. And so once you volunteered, what was the next step after that? Did you go
Basic training.
Where did you go to basic training?
Miami, Florida.
Miami.
Miami Beach. They took over all those hotels.
Uh-huh.
Miami Beach. And that's where we had our basic training.
So now you were in the Army Air Corps?
Yeah.
Okay, so was their basic training completely separate than the regular Army's training?
Yeah, because the Air Force was completely separate from the Army then.
Okay, even though it didn't have a new name.
No, I'm sorry. It was the Army Air Force. It was part of the Army.
Right.
When I was in.
But still, they'd already separated the basic trainings.
No.
Oh, so you went through regular Army.
Regular Army basic training.
Okay. And so after basic training, you went on to your school for your job?
Yeah, Indianapolis, Indiana.
In Indianapolis? And what job did you have?
After I got through training, I was an armored gunner.
Armored gunner? And you were part of a flight crew?
Yeah.
For what type of airplane did you?
B-17.
A B-17?
B-17G. That was the latest model of B-17.
Okay, and you said you were a gunner?
Armored gunner.
Armored gunner? So, now the B-17 had several different gunners on them, correct?
Had 13 guns.
Wow, 13 guns, okay. And so, which gun did you normally?
The nose gun.
You were a nose gun? How long was training?
How long in training?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I imagine a year and a half.
Year and a half?
Armor had several different jobs on the crew, other than gunner.
Okay. So what all were your other responsibilities?
You had to repair machine guns in flight, repair turrets in flight, be sure you had the correct bombs loaded. Now there was a ground armor crew. They put all the we carried parts and ammunition and bombs. They loaded in for us. But I had to be responsible that we had the right bombs, I had the right fuses in the bombs, had the right amount of ammunition loaded, and the right part of machine gun parts loaded.
Okay.
Carried 10 extra barrels.
Did the B-17, did you require oxygen masks? Did y'all have to
Sure. Or we flew at 25,000 or 30,000 feet.
Okay, then,
You can survive at about 14,000 without oxygen. That's about the maximum.
Okay. So while you were in training in Indianapolis, is that when your wife came and joined you in Indianapolis?
Yeah, she stayed there a couple of months, I guess.
Okay. But then when you actually got deployed, she moved back to Texas?
Yeah.
Okay. And so where was the first place you were deployed after training?
Went to 8th Air Force in Europe for about 2.5 months.
Okay.
And then they called us out and called 10 crews out and sent us back to the States, and we set up the first Air Sea Rescue Unit.
Okay. So the couple months you were in Europe, where were you at?
South of England.
So you're in South England?
I mean south of London.
Oh, okay. And then you got transferred back to the States. Now, was it in the United States proper, or were you?
Yeah, we came. They flew us back in to Mobile, Alabama.
Okay. And that's where you're.
That's where we started our training. From start RC Rescue.
Oh, okay. So the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay. So the couple months that you were there in south of London, you were part of a regular B-17
Air
bombing
Force,
crew?
yeah.
Did you ever have any combat flights during that time?
Yeah, we flew over Germany.
Oh, okay. And then after you did your the rescue training in Biloxi, where did they move you to?
We first went to Gander, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland?
Then we went from there to Stevensville, Newfoundland, which is down on the southern tip of the island. And then we transferred from there to Goose Bay, Labrador.
So Newfoundland and Labrador.
And then we wound up in Bermuda. because we had a crew down there, and the crew there patrolled from Bermuda to the Azores. That's the island off South America, owned by Spain, and they just barely had enough gas to get there, and they didn't control their fuel consumption right, and started to land and overshot the runway, and had to pull up and take off, and they run out of gas on all four engines and flew into a mountain and killed every one of them.
Oh, really? So now, when you were in Labrador, up in that area,
we patrolled the south of Greenland and Iceland to what is that? Scotland.
Yeah, that little corridor right there.
Yeah.
So how often did y'all fly? Was it a
Well, we got called out. We got called. The plane went down.
How many planes do you think?
Huh?
How many planes went down? Do you think that?
I have no idea. There's quite a few of them, because those bases I was on, they were again. The war was winding down, and they started bringing them old worn-out planes home, and a lot of them didn't make it.
So about what time period were we looking at there when you were in Labrador?
Gosh damn it, I don't know. I have no idea. My memory's too
44, around that time
Yeah.
period, right around there?
close to that.
Okay, they're starting to bring some older airplanes home. All right. Now, you weren't the only person in your family that was deployed during World War II, were you?
No,
You had a couple
all
brothers?
four of us boys were.
All four brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess let's start with your brother Jack.
Yeah.
He was he in the army?
He was in Patton's Third Army.
Okay.
He's the only one that got wounded. He got wounded bad.
And he was wounded was it in the Battle of the Bulge? Or
Well, he got out of. They put him in a hospital for a couple of weeks in France after he got hurt, and then they sent him to London. He stayed in hospital in London 6 months. And that Battle of the Bulge come along, and Patton wanted all his walking wounded, so they called Jack back, and he got there just as it was winding down, and he said he was the first sergeant, and he said he didn't know a man in his company.
They'd all
been captured or killed or wounded.
And was he decorated after getting injured?
Yeah, he had quite a few decorations. He had 2 Purple Hearts.
Okay. Let's see. Now, your brother Max.
He was a P-47 pilot.
P-47.
At the end of the war, he started out flying C-47s towing gliders. And towards the end of the war, they got short of fighter pilots, so he went through training on single engine. So they put him back in single engine, and he started flying P-47.
Oh, okay. Was he any part of the gliders that they used during Normandy?
Yeah.
So he was part of the...
Yeah, he trained in Brady. They had a glider training camp there.
Okay, yeah, our instructor said they did a lot of that up in Denton, too. They had a bunch of glider training up in the Denton area.
Yeah. Before Max health got to bed, he and quite a big group of veterans formed an organization, and they rebuilt an old Army Jeep completely. They rebuilt a Link trainer that pilots trained on, and they were going to rebuild an old glider. He drove from Dallas to, what was that town?
Denton?
Denton, yeah, Denton.
Up there to work on some of those. And your other brother Bill.
He was in the Merchant Marine, which was part of the Coast Guard.
Oh, okay. So was he involved with the Liberty ships at all, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Part of the
Yeah.
system?
After the war, after World War II was over, before they incorporated the Merchant Marine with Coast Guard because Merchant Marine lost more people than anybody.
With all the ships that were sunk by the
Sunk, yeah,
submarines?
many of them were sunk.
So did he make some of the transatlantic trips?
Yeah, made quite a few to England.
On some of the actual the Liberty ships, or was he on some of the escorts?
Liberty ship.
He was actually on the Liberty ships. So you had 4 brothers from one family.
Yeah.
That wound up there, and all 4 of them made it back.
Yeah, because we were all, age-wise, we were pretty close together. See, Max was 14 months younger than me, and Jack was 11 months older than me, and Bill was
the youngest.
He was the youngest, about 4 or 5, something like that.
Okay. So while you were gone, you had a daughter that was born while you were gone?
Yeah.
And when was the first time you got to see her?
When I got out. She was 15 months old
15
when I
months
got
old.
discharged.
So how much total time did you spend enlisted during the war?
In the war, I like 20 days, been 3 years.
Wow. So how much of that were you away from home? Nearly all 3 years?
All of it. I never had no furlough at all.
Oh, really? Now,
Because she was 15 months old before I saw her.
So once it was concluded and you got shipped back home, you didn't get to come straight home, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I got to come home pretty quick.
Well, I mean, but once you got back, you had to go through a process. 'Cause you
Oh,
were
yeah.
telling me a story
But I came home first and jumped off the train and stayed 30 days before I went to San Antonio getting my discharge.
So when you were on the train to San Antonio, where were you coming from?
Patuxent, Maryland.
From so you're riding the train from.
Well, that's where I flew into.
Right. So that when you came back from, that was from Labrador, or where were you at when you?
Bermuda when I got out.
Oh, so from Bermuda to Maryland, then you rode the train.
Yeah, they had a point system for discharge. You got so many points for every month overseas. Mm-hmm. So many points if you was married. So many points if you had a child. Mm-hmm. And every month they would raise that, or lower it, I mean. And I'll never forget the day they come out and told me that I had enough points to get out. We done a lot of anti-submarine patrol when we was in Labrador.
Oh, okay.
And because towards the end of the war, they run the submarines out of the Central Atlantic, and they went up there in the Arctic because they knew there wasn't any Navy vessels much up there. So, besides looking for downed airplanes, we looked for submarines and called the Navy. Of course, we couldn't do nothing because we couldn't carry bombs with that boat on there.
So did your plane ever spot submarines? Did you ever see some?
A couple of times.
A couple times? The anti-submarine warfare was a big deal at that time.
They'd like to win the war with submarines.
Yeah, and if we hadn't helped slow them down, then they really would have hurt the Liberty ships in the resupply effort. Okay. So you came from Maryland. You were taking a train to San Antonio to do your discharge paperwork, and
yeah, but there was another guy from Fort Worth who come up for discharge down there at the same time I did, had the same points, and we got on that train going to San Antonio, and he was corporal and I was sergeant, and I had the orders. And I looked on the orders, there's no date arriving in San Antonio. So when we got pretty close to Fort Worth, I told him, I said, I don't know what you're going to do, but I said, I haven't been home in nearly 3 years. I said, when I get to Goldthwaite, I'm going to jump this train. So that's what I did. I jumped off that train. And I stayed at home 30 days before I went on to San Antonio. And I called that old boy. I told him, I said, we better get down there, I guess. And we went down to San Antonio. I'll never forget it. We walked in the office and there's an old master sergeant in there. And I handed him those orders. He looked at them. He said, Sergeant, how long does it take to come from Patuxent, Maryland to San Antonio? I said, Sergeant, that was one hell of a slow train.
I guess by that point they...
No, they didn't care.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, was your wife surprised to see you?
Yeah, because she didn't know it was coming. But the funny part of it, Sherry wouldn't let me touch her, wouldn't even let me get close to her. And she wouldn't let me even put my hand on Pugs. She'd keep me on the shins and push me off.
And this is your 15-month-old daughter you had
Yeah.
got to see? That's good. So,
Yeah, I told Pug. She said she was sorry that Sherry asked you that way. I said, well, she's just still a baby. She don't know what's going on. I said, it did hurt my feeling a little bit, but it proved one thing. You wouldn't let another man around you. She wouldn't let him. If I even put my hand around Pug's shoulder, she'd push me away and kick me on the shin. Say, no, man.
She warmed up pretty soon after that?
Oh,
She
yeah.
figured out what was going
It took about 6 weeks.
Now your brothers, did they get home around the same time, or how long did it take?
Well, Jack was already home. He got home before I did. Max got home a little after I did, and Bill got home before I did.
Was there any problems after you got back?
No,
Adjusting, or did everything just kind of
no.
fell right into place?
I got me a job. Luckily, I got me a job for 50 cents an hour working for a roofing company.
Oh, really? And then,
But jobs, there were so many 100,000 people getting out, jobs were real hard to get. And a friend of mine, older than I was, he was in the Army, and he'd been home a year, and he got a job with this roofing company, and he got me a job, 50 cents an hour, carrying 5-gallon cans of melted asphalt and bundles of shingles up on the roof.
How long did you do that?
About a year, and then Jack and I bought that shop.
And you eventually opened up a mechanic shop?
Yeah, mechanic and welding shop.
Working on cars or small engines?
Everything. We worked on anything. Done any kind of welding.
And this was there in Mullen? Or?
Yeah. You know where that TV outfit's at, that building? That old shop building was right there. They tore it down.
How, once you got back, all the shortages that they had during the war, had they already started?
Yeah, they had already about gone.
So everything was...
Because they got production going again for civilian use, instead of military.
Mm-hmm. And so, you had started your own mechanic shop. Your brother Jack, what did he do after the war?
Well, he went in with me, yeah. Well, Max started out, all three of us started out. And Max got a job pretty quick teaching flying in San Angelo. So he went out there and took that.
Okay. And he eventually went to work for, was it North American?
No. Vought Aircraft.
Vought.
But he went to the University of Texas and got his degree in aeronautical engineering.
Oh, okay.
And he worked for the university for a while. They was working on the design for a supersonic wind tunnel. Mm-hmm. There'd never been one built, before that. And they just about had it worked out. And the Vought Aircraft bought the plans, and Vought Aircraft was going to build it there at Grand Prairie. So they hired Max as consultant engineer. Chicago Bridge was going to build it, and he got the job as consultant engineer between Chicago Bridge and Vought Aircraft. And after they got it built, they hired him as assistant manager, and he had that job for about 4 or 5 years, and he got the manager job.
Okay.
He worked 33 years.
For Vought?
Vought Aircraft.
What about your brother Bill? What did he do when he got back?
He went into the highway patrol.
Okay. And then he was eventually a sheriff down in Sanderson?
Yeah, wound up The sheriff got an appointment for a sheriff's job in Terrell County.
Terrell County. Okay. Sanderson was the town.
Yeah, Sanderson's the county seat.
Okay.
Until he got shot. He quit pretty quick after he got shot. He's a cripple. He quit and started teaching law, criminal justice at Angelo College, and then he went to A&M, taught several years at A&M.
And he eventually wound up teaching at Odessa?
Yeah, back in Odessa. He was head of the department there at Odessa.
Okay. Well, I think that pretty much does it. I just wanted to kind of get an overview of, life before the service, life during the service, and life after.
It's a lot different now, I can tell you.
Yeah, it definitely is. Is there any other thoughts about the war that you want to share?
You know, the funniest thing I remember, that, like I say, when they told me I was eligible for discharge, they said, go get your baggage packed. And the weather was real bad in Bermuda then. It was winds blowing, it was raining. They said the first through flight that comes through, our headquarters were in New York. We get you on it. So I went and got my bags packed, and about 10 o'clock one night they called me and said, we got emergency Navy, NTSC, ATC was our Army Transport Command, and then there's Navy Transport Command. Got emergency Naval Transport Command coming through. If you get down here, we can get you on it. So I did, and they landed at Patuxent, Maryland. That was a big naval base. And I had this old boy from Fort Worth with me, and I stopped the shore patrol jeep, showed him the orders, and I said, we've got to have somewhere to spend the rest of the night. He said, you can't spend it on this base. It's the Navy. So they took us out to the main gate and dumped us out.
Really?
We walked down there a while down the street, and a MP Jeep come along, and I stopped them and showed them the orders, and they said, well, we said, we can find you a place to get some sleep and get some breakfast in the morning. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And they took us to the Red Cross, about a 3 or 4 story building they had downtown, to put people up for the night. And we walked in, and they said, no, we're full up. We can't handle no more. And they told us, said, well, get back in the Jeep. We got one more place. And they took us to Salvation Army. And they said, well, we're full up too, but said, we'll put you some cots in the hall, and we'll feed you breakfast in the morning. So those 2 MPs, I told them, I said, now, we're in trouble because it was 28th a month, and I said, we got $3 between us just for payday. And they said, well, we'll take care of that in the morning. So we got up and ate breakfast, and they come by and picked us up and took us across the river to Pentagon. We walked right up to Air Force Finance in the Pentagon.
Really?
And they paid us and got us tickets, train tickets and meal tickets to San Antonio.
And so you got...
But the Navy sure didn't. They didn't help us very much.
Too much.
I told them, I said, y'all are a bunch of horses. I said, you landed at our Army Air Force Base and we refilled your plane, then you won't even give us a place to sleep.
Was Armada inter-service?
Rivalry? Oh, yeah. Between the Army and the Navy, for sure. Marines and the Army got along pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to kind of get some of the background there and find out some of the things that went on.
Well, I hope you get a passing grade on it.
All right, I hope so too.
Kim Connor, last year he called me. He had to write a theme on World War II, and I talked to him, I guess, an hour one night on the phone. About 2 weeks later, he called me back. He said, Paul, I sure want to thank you. He said, I got an A+ on that. Said that'll keep me playing football. Connor, he don't believe in studying.
Yeah, as long as it keeps him in football.